That view of the self is kind of hard to keep in mind and kind of complicated, and I'm going to complicate it just a little bit more because there's another strand in Buddhist thought that they want to introduce to you. And I think an easy way to see it is through a passage from the Lotus Sutra. So the Lotus Sutra is one of the most popular Buddhist texts in East Asia. It's important in later Mahayana Buddhism, becomes very important. So it's important to keep in mind, I'm going to talk about Mahayana Buddhism as later Buddhism, but Mahayana is not one single school or a view. There's a lot of views and schools within Mahayana Buddhism. But it's worth pointing out because, for example, if you remember the fake Buddha quotes assignment, according to that website, anything that's not in the Pali Canon is a fake Buddha quote. So everything the Buddha says in the Lotus Sutra is a fake Buddha quote, according to more traditionalist early Buddhists. But for Mahayana Buddhists, this is a kind of more difficult or subtle or advanced teaching that the Buddha gave. And so we don't know who the author is. It was written between 100 BCE and 100 CE. There's some evidence, there's limited evidence of it in India. There's some evidence in Nepal or Afghanistan. It's translated into Chinese in around 280 and then again in 400 CE. And just to give you a sense of the scale, it's first translated into English in the 1880s. So there's a big gap where no one who read only English was reading this. It's a very interesting text. It's got a lot of dramatic vignettes. It's got a mix of verse and prose. There's a bunch of Buddhist sects in China, Japan that make this sutra a central object of veneration. So that's some context about the Lotus Sutra. It's a later Buddhist text, or becomes very important, especially in Mahayana Buddhism in Japan and China. So I'm going to talk about one episode here. So this is the episode of the jewel in the robe, and this is a kind of parable that is supposed to explain this idea of Buddha nature. So just to summarize the story, there's this poor guy, and he goes to visit his wealthy friend. They get wasted. He crashes at his rich friend's house. The rich friend has to get up and leave. I'm paraphrasing here. And so he sees his poor friend sleeping, and so he takes the poor friend's coat and he sews a jewel into the lining of the coat, of the poor friend's coat, and then he leaves and goes on his business trip or whatever. So the poor friend gets up, leaves, and later goes through a bunch of hardships. He struggles, and then but he's happy with whatever little he can accumulate. And he later meets his rich friend again, and he says, "Oh man, you had all these problems? Like, there was a jewel inside your coat the whole time. There it is." That's the parable.